welcome to the Explainer. Our goal here is pretty simple. We take complex sources and break them down into clear, engaging narratives for you. So today, we are diving deep into a really profound interpretation of the Quran, one that connects all these seemingly random stories into one single cosmic cycle. It's a wild ride, so let's get right into it.
Okay, so the whole story really kicks off with two primal opposing forces that basically define this entire cosmic struggle. And those forces are fire and water. So on one side, you've got Iblis. Now, he's a jinn made from pure smokeless fire, and he really represents that arrogance, that pride that separates us. But then on the other side, you have the prophet Yunus. And what's fascinating, according to this interpretation, is that his name actually shares a root with jinn. It's like he's this hidden spark of that same fiery potential. The difference? His story is all about redemption, being brought back from the depths by the waters of mercy.
So you might be asking, what happens when that fire of pride gets mixed with the clay of humanity? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material tells us this creates a state of being, a condition called shaitan. And it's not just some creature with horns, It's a state of being, a will that just burns with power, but absolutely refuses to bow to anything higher. And this state of rebellion, this sort of unbound fire, it leads directly to the central problem of this whole cosmic story. And that is a really profound curse, a curse of nothingness and forgetting. In a moment of just absolute despair, Maryam, that's Mary in the Christian tradition, she utters this curse. And according to this line of thought, her cry, it perfectly captures the very essence of that shaitanic state. It's this deep desire for oblivion, to be just completely erased and forgotten. So this curse, it doesn't just happen all at once. It unfolds in three distinct layers of darkness. And what's really cool is how it mirrors the three darknesses of the womb during pregnancy. It's a progression, right? From being dead to being lost in oblivion, and then finally, to being completely forgotten. Okay, but right here is where the story takes this amazing turn. It's not a straight line anymore, cause and effect. Instead, it bends, and it turns into a loop of redemption. And this completely reframes the whole narrative. We're not talking about a one-way street to destruction. We're talking about a Mobius loop. That's right, a cosmic cycle where the end actually meets the beginning. And what that means is that even a state of pride, of disobedience, there's a path back, a path towards divine mercy. And this right here perfectly illustrates the paradox inside that loop. Just look at Pharaoh and Yunus. Pharaoh, he's preserved in death. He is not forgotten because he serves as a permanent warning against pride. On the flip side, Yunus is also not forgotten, but for the complete opposite reason, because he was forgiven and saved. So you see, two totally different outcomes, but both are eternal signs inside the very same divine cycle. And we see this redemptive pattern popping up again and again. The prophet Ayyub's trials, they're cooled by purifying water. Yunus, when he comes out of the darkness, he's rewarded with a life-giving tree. Then there's the prophet Yahya, who's seen here as a white flame, making a sacrifice that literally paves the way for a greater light. Heck, even Iblis is given respite, a pause, which is what keeps this whole cosmic loop turning. Okay, so if forgetting is the curse, if this state of nothingness is the problem, then what's the antidote? Well, the source material points to one incredibly powerful symbol. Think back to Maryam for a second. Right after she utters that curse, wishing she was forgotten, a voice from the spirit, calls out to her from beneath, and it tells her to do something very specific: shake the trunk of a palm date tree and eat from it. And this is the key. The palm date tree. It's a symbol for scripture, for the Quran. It's the nourishment of divine knowledge, the very thing needed to rise above that despair of forgetting. That is the antidote. And this idea pops up again in the story of Mūsā, or Moses. Remember when his companion forgets something super important, a fish? Well, that very act of forgetting, that little human mistake, it actually pinpoints the exact spot they were looking for. It leads them straight to Khidr, this mysterious servant who holds a kind of hidden, living knowledge. So the thing that was forgotten becomes the key to finding what was lost. How cool is that? So this whole journey, from the curse of forgetting all the way to the nourishment of knowledge, it's all leading to one final goal: achieving this perfected inner balance. And this interpretation gives it a name. This balanced archetype is called Ahmad, a state of real spiritual harmony. And you can see this balance perfectly when you compare two incredibly powerful kings, Pharaoh and Suleiman, or Solomon. I mean, both of them had immense power, but Pharaoh, he used it for tyranny, rejected the divine message, and it led to his destruction. Suleiman, on the other hand, was guided by scripture. He used his power for mercy, and because of that, he won the willing submission of the powerful Queen of Sheba. It's the same power, but a totally opposite outcome. So this perfected state, Ahmad, it's really about the ultimate harmony of our own inner forces. It's about finding that perfect balance between the fire of our will, the light of our knowledge, and the water of our mercy. And the source argues that this isn't just for prophets or kings. It's a potential that's promised to every single soul. You know, you can really boil down this entire cosmic journey into a kind of 4-step alchemical transformation. You start with the raw fire of will. Then it's illuminated by knowledge. Then it's tempered by mercy. And it all culminates in the truth and wisdom that we see embodied by Suleiman. And so the loop completes itself. All of these primal forces we've been talking about, fire, water, light, they all return to their single divine source. This really is the ultimate resolution of the entire cycle. It's a kind of divine hierarchy of submission. First, the fire of will bows to the light of knowledge. Then, that knowledge bows to mercy. And finally, mercy fulfills the ultimate truth. In the end, every single force finds its proper place and returns to the oneness of God. So that leaves us with one last big thought. If this cosmic loop of fire, water, and light, if it isn't just some ancient story about prophets and kings, but it's actually the story of every soul, well, then we have to ask ourselves, in our own journey of forgetting and remembering, what role are you playing?